we can go to start. Okay, so this is my Docker machine, which I had brought up yesterday. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue with the same machine. And the first thing what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into this machine. So let me just go ahead and log in. Now, yesterday or day before yesterday, I showed you that you can log in via putty. But in case you are interested, you can also do a direct login, and that will be something like this. Click on this. Here you will find a connect button, and here you will get this EC2 instance connect. If your browser is up to date and your antivirus is not blocking the request, you will be able to connect to that particular server. So this is what I'm trying to do, and this is my black and white console or the CLI. Let me see if I'm able to connect to this environment or not. Wait, a little bit louder. Hopefully now it is clear. So I'm trying to connect to this machine via my CLI, and here you go. I am connected, but I'm going to do one more thing. I'll go to bring it a little bit on the higher side so that you're able to see it. So this is what I have done. I have just now logged in. Getting a sound means you're getting an echo. Give me 1 minute. Hopefully that's okay now. So you should not get an echo. Fine. So now what I'm trying to do is I've just logged into my machine, and to this machine I will be doing my work. Now the first thing which I will check is whether Docker is up and running or not. So service Docker status. So if I go ahead and check, this is what I get. So let me just come here, scroll a little bit up, and I can see it is active and running. So my Docker is up and running. The second thing is I will check if I have some images running or not. Images. So it says permission denied, because if you see I'm a EC2 user. So let me upgrade myself to a root user. Let me clear all these things. Now let me try say Docker images. So I can see a few images are there, and at the same time I will also go ahead and say Docker ps-e. So I'll see a few containers are running. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring all of them down. So I'll go and say Docker rm-f, and this is the first one. Paste it. Copy. Paste it. Paste. Second one. Copy. Paste it. Copy. Paste it. And the last one. Copy. Paste it. So all these 4 containers are what I'm going to delete. So now if I come here, Docker ps-a, I will see I don't have any containers up and running. These are the images which I would like to delete. So I will say Docker rmi, and the first image, copy, and here is what I'm going to paste it. Copy, here is what I'm going to paste it, and then copy and paste it again. Okay, so it says,
Sir, your voice is not audible, sir. Please check once.
Voice not audible, but I am able to hear you guys.
No, it is not clear, sir.
Not clear. Wait. Okay, now is it clear? I have brought my mic near to.
It is fine now.
Okay, so what I have done is I have brought up my servers. Okay, and my server had some instances which were running from back or from previous day. I just removed it. So if I say Docker images, I don't see anything. Still I see an image. Wait, I will say Docker rmi-f. So I'm forcefully removing this image. Let me copy this first and paste it. Now this time it has been deleted. So I'm saying there should be Low battery, man, no power here. It will last 1 hour. So if I come here right now, I see Docker images. So I don't see anything. And Docker ps minus a, then also I should not see anything. Sorry. Should be something like this. Docker ps minus a. So yesterday there was a question, what is this minus a? So I told you that in case you are running a command and you don't understand what is that, so you can very well come here and say Docker ps and then what to do after this. So minus minus help. So here you will get to know what is minus a, minus f. So this will be very difficult for me to go ahead and explain everything. But as and when you encounter something, you can
Sir,
use it.
Sir, sorry for interrupting you. Still your voice is not audible properly, sir. Guys, if you are facing the same issue, please ping to Vikas in the chat box.
Is it like still your people are not able to hear me? Voice is not clear. Okay. Now is it clear? If I speak loudly, is it clear now? It's an echo. Give me 1 second.
Guys, please ping to Vikas, not to Vagile Technologies. Please ping to Vikas.
Wait. Let me change this. Okay. Is it clear? Voice not clear, some echo. Now is it there? Is there an echo now, or is it okay? Okay for fine. So we can continue from here. So now we'll start. Okay. So what I have done is the first thing what I have done is I have brought up my machine. Okay. So this is my machine which is up and running. You can see here the Docker instance is up and running. The second thing still have an echo. I can't help it, man. I am using the best what I have. I am using the best network what I have. Let me see if I get an earphone from someone. Let me just.
Sir, can you please rejoin once?
Let me just do that. Wait. Okay, guys, a quick confirmation now if the voice is clear. Okay, comparatively okay, clear, yes, sir. Now I'm using an earphone. So basically what I have done is I have spin up a EC2 instance, and this EC2 instance is running in my cloud environment, which is AWS. Now the second thing what I did is I wanted to connect to this machine. So I directly came here and I clicked on this connect thing. The moment I click on this connect thing, I am coming up to a black and white screen, something like this. The first thing what I did is I went ahead and I told Docker images. Now, the moment I say Docker images, if there are some images available, it should show it to me. The second command which I ran was Docker ps minus a. And I can see there are no containers running. Now, yesterday there was a question which says that how will I know what does minus a, minus g and all those things stands for? So I told you that you have to use something like this, Docker ps minus minus help. So it will tell you what all these things stand for. If I'm using minus a or any keyword, what does that keyword stand for? Okay. Now, Today, what we will be doing is we will be talking about networks. Now, why is network important? So think of a scenario that I have a Docker container and it is running somewhere else. It is running in a different environment. And I have another Docker container which is running in different environment. So in that case, communication between these two containers will become a very big challenge for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with something called Docker network. So if I talk about Docker network, this is how my network looks like. Okay, so think that this is one Docker container, this is another Docker container, and this is a third Docker container. Now the problem is they all are running on different networks. Now, if they are running on different network, communication will become a problem. So let me say these two are front end, these two are back end. So overall communication will become a challenge. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a Docker container, and a container is created in such a way that all of them use one common network. In that case, the communication between the respective containers will be very easy. So let me just go ahead and implement this and show you how I can work with that. So as of now, if I come here and say Docker network, I will see that these are the commands which I can use, like connect, create, disconnect, inspect, ls, prune, and rm. So in this, there is a very common question: what does Docker prune or Docker network prune does? So prune is nothing but many a times we create a network, but then when our work is done, we forget about that network and we leave it as it is. So prune command always takes care of the unused network and it will delete them all, so that it is unused and unnecessary. It is consuming my space. So you can find it out and delete it for me. So if I come here right now and say Docker network ls, so I can see generally I can see three types of network are there: bridge, host, and forget about this. I have created it in morning. Let me just delete this. Docker network rm, and this is the network ID. Copy, paste. So if I come here and say Docker network ls, I can see these are the three major types of network which I see: bridge, host, none. Now out of this, none is the simplest. As when I say none, it means I'm not using any Docker network. In the sense, whatever network I get from my EC2. So let me say this is where I have installed my Docker. So this is the EC2. So whatever container, whatever EC2 network is there, I'm using the same network. So this is my Docker container, and the container network and the EC2 network are same. Container. Yes, it is not recommended, because if you do something like that, at the end of the day, you are not using any kind of container, okay, any kind of network. So if you see this carefully, bridge is the default which we use generally. Then host is also not recommended, none is also not recommended. Now, theoretically, if I want to know which one is used for what and how can I differentiate between them, so I will come back here and say Docker network. I will go to the official documentation of Docker, and here I will see the Docker network types. So here it says, definitely you can have a user-defined bridge network where you have multiple containers and you want them to communicate with each other. So you put them all together in one Docker environment. So this is the best way of working when you're dealing with Docker network. The second is host network. These are best when the network stack should be not isolated. Means you have 4 or 5 containers, 10 containers, but those containers do not want isolation. So in my first class, when I was talking about Docker, I told it is a 3 BHK apartment, and all the 3 people want to stay in isolation. But in case the requirement is that these three people or these three containers, they don't want any isolation. So in that case, you use host network. Host network is nothing but the network which comes from your host. In my case, it is my AWS EC2. You do not want any isolation within the Docker containers. Then I will come to these third-party network plugins. So you want to integrate with some third-party like Kubernetes and all, which we will be talking about later. And then there are two other types of network. One is your overlay network. Okay. Basically, when we will be talking about Docker Swarm, okay, we will be talking about Docker Swarm. Then we will be talking about this. Here it says Docker host to communicate with multiple applications. Okay, so this is important. And overlay networks are used by Docker Swarm. Then you have MAC VLAN network. Now, if you're using a virtual machine and a container together, in that case, you will be using the MAC address. So MAC is a different type of networking. I don't want to go in those details, but MAC is a different type of IP address kind of thing you can think. Okay, so majorly you have these types of network. Out of this, most of the time, I will say 90% of the time, you will be using this guy. User-defined bridge network. Host network also can be used, but then there is no virtualization. Third-party plugins can be used when we are using Kubernetes or anything else. Overlay network will be used when we are using Docker Swarm, and MAC VLAN will be used when you're using a VM along with a container. Okay, you can read through this. It is mostly used for it is mostly used for your container which are running VM and container when they are running together. Rama, give me some time. Real-time scenarios will come. When you say that I'm going to work with a real-time scenario, it is not that the day one only you start with the real-time scenarios. You have to first build your fundamentals. Then only you will understand what is happening in the real-time scenario. Okay. In dev QA prod, the network will not change. The only thing is the level of isolation which you get in your prod environment will be on a higher side. When you do the same networking on your dev side, it will be on a lower side, because dev, you want to give more access to the developer. Okay. So when I say that the network to be compared from dev and prod, the only difference is the prod is more secure and the dev is comparatively less secure. But the concept and all will remain this only. The concept is not going to change. Okay. How much Docker we want to learn to start Kubernetes? I told the first 4 to 5 classes will be Docker, and that is all what you need to get started with Docker. And then gradually you can leave Docker and move towards Kubernetes. Fine. So this is what I have done. These are the network types what I have. Now to start my work, I will create my own network. So for that I will say Docker create. Okay, sorry, Docker network create. Network create, Docker network create, and I will create a network and I'll give some name, say my network. You give any name of your choice. When you create like this, you get a commit ID. Now, if you want to see this, you can say Docker network ls, and you will see there is a network with the name as my network created for you. If you have given a different name, the different name will pop up here, and this is the container ID. If I copy this container ID and simply say Docker network and Docker network inspect and the network ID. So I get the details about this network. If I go into and see the details, the first detail, it tells me about the name, the network ID, the creation date, where it is created. So it is locally created within my AWS region. It's a bridge network. IPv6. No, I'm not using IPv6. And the most important thing here is it allocates me a range of IP addresses. Now, as of now, I don't know what these numbers are. So if to understand these numbers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a website, which is cider.xyz. Cider, CIDR.xyz. So you will have many websites like this. I'm not saying this is the only website. So 172.19.00.16. So I'll give the number here. 172.19.0.0.16. Now, if you see carefully, the first IP address which I get, so altogether I will get some 65,536 IP addresses here, okay, in this range. It says the first IP address which you will get is 172.19.0.1, and the last IP address which you will get is 172.19.255.254. So this is the range of IP address which you can get when you are working with this particular network. Then, as of now, this particular machine or this particular gateway is 172.19.01, means any traffic which you want to come inside will come inside via this IP address. Then there are ingress and all those things. Ingress means incoming traffic. So as of now, I'm only interested in this containers. Now containers, if you see here, the container is blank, means there is nothing here. Now let me say I have a container which is running. Okay, so let me say how to spin up a container. So I say docker run minus name. Let me say nginx1. Okay, and then -G for detach mode, -P for port forwarding. So 8080, you can run it externally 80, and then in case you want to attach a volume, you can attach it, and you can say nginx. Okay, and I'm taking 1.23. Okay, now if you see here, I'm not attaching a network, but in case you want to attach a network, you do something like this, minus network, and you give the name of the network, my network. So this is important. So I am saying docker run minus name, -D -P, the port number, and minus network, my network, and this is the network. Enter. So it is saying your Nginx 1.2.3 is not locally available. So first let me do a docker pull, take the latest image, and then create this thing for you. So now if I come here and say docker ps -a, I see that this container is there, okay, and it is running inside that particular network, and it is running at 8080. So if you want, you can check where it is running. So take the IP address of this. This is my EC2 instance IP address, copy and say 8080, enter. So here it says, welcome to Nginx. If you see this page, Nginx web server is successfully installed and it is working. Okay, and further, if you want, you can do the configuration and all. But if you see this, means Nginx is up and running for you. If I come back here, I can see, yes, Nginx is running for me. Now, I will do one more thing. I will come here and this time I will run this command, docker inspect and your network ID. This time you will see there is a container running here and the name of the container is Nginx1. This is the range of IP address which got allocated to my container, and this is the MAC address. So if you use MAC VLAN, you can use this. This is the endpoint, and this is the Nginx1, which is running by the name. Now let me say I have another container. So when I say that I have another container, let me say this is Nginx2, but it is running at 8081. Okay, and it is not within the same network, it is in the default network. So I'm running it like this. Okay, so just see that there is another container Nginx2 and it is running in a different network. Okay, so now what I will do is docker ps -a. So I can say two containers are there, container 1, container 2. The name is Nginx1, Nginx2. The Nginx1 container is running in my network. I can see that. Okay, Nginx1 is running here, but Nginx2 is somewhere else. So my requirement is that I need both to connect to each other, or they can talk to each other. Okay, so let me try to go inside this and try to connect to the other machine. Okay, so copy this, copy. So come here and say docker exec -it container ID, paste, and then say bin bash. Okay, so if you see here, I'm connected and I'm inside my container. Now from here, I would like to ping, or I would like to connect the other machine. So where am I in this E64? E64 is this guy, which is Nginx 2. So from Nginx 2, I'm trying to connect to Nginx 1. So I'll say ping Nginx. So it is saying ping command not found. So let me try to install that. So the first thing is I will try to update this machine. How to update? So first you need to understand what machine is this. So you can come here and say cat etc OS release. So when you say OS release, it will tell you the details about the operating system. So the operating system is a Debian machine. Okay, Linux 11 Debian machine is there. So I can run yum. No, yum will not work. So I will do something like this: apt get. So it is equivalent to yum because it's a Debian machine. It's a Debian command, and I will say apt get update -y. So this is the first command which I will run. Means if there are some updates from the system end, from the Debian end, you put that. Second is I will say apt get install. There is a software called iputils. iputils. Okay, I think it is same word. iputils, and I'll say -y. Enter. So this iputils, no, this not this ip-utils. So I'm trying to install this software. Sorry, iputils, same way, right? iputils. Or let me do one thing. Whatever command I'm trying to teach you or I'm telling you, it is present in my GitHub repo. So I will say github.com, Vikas 99341, and I have this Node.js thing. Here, if you go, there is something called Docker network, and the command is iputils ping. Okay. So this is what I'm trying to install. Okay. So basically what has happened here is that when I was trying to run this ping command, ping, this is ping not found. So I'm trying to install this ping thing. Now what is ping? It will help you to connect to your machine. If you're trying to connect to any machine, it will help you with that. Paste. So apt get install iputils. I'm trying to install iputils. Okay. So done. Do you want to proceed? I'll say yes, I would like to proceed. And this ping will work now. See, ping, it is working. It's not giving me an error. So I've installed that ping. Now from here, I will try to connect to my other machine. Ping Nginx2. Okay. So Nginx2. That was only there. 1 second. Exit. Docker ps -a. So this is one. Okay, I have to connect to Nginx 1 because I was inside Nginx 2. So let me just go ahead and do that again. Copy. I will say Docker exec -it, then the IP, then the machine's this thing, and bin bash. Okay, bin bash. So now I will say ping Nginx1. Okay, because I'm inside 64. This 64 thing is Nginx 2. From here, I'm trying to connect to Nginx 1. See here. Ping Nginx name of service not known. Means it is not able to recognize this service, which is Nginx1. Why is it happening? So let me just exit from here. So this container and this container, they are on different network. So what I have to do is I have to bring both of them into same network. So if I come here and say Docker network ls, I can see that this is the network which I have. Copy Docker, and I say Docker inspect Docker inspect, and this paste, Docker network inspect. So only this Nginx 1 is inside this network. So what I will do is I will add the other machine also in this network only. So for that, Docker network minus help. So I have a command here called connect. So it says connect a container to a network. So I will do something like this. So this is my network, okay? Docker ps -a, and this is my container, okay? Nginx 2. So I will say something like this: Docker network connect, okay? Whom you want to connect? So I want to connect Nginx. Sorry, I want to connect Nginx 1, okay? Nginx 1, or which one was that? Just let me check. I cleared everything. Okay, we will do it again. 1 second, man. Copy. Docker network inspect. Paste. Okay, Nginx 1 is already there. Okay, so I have to add Nginx 2. So Docker network ls Docker ps -a. So what's the command? Docker network. Okay, connect. Whom do you want to connect? So this container I would like to connect. Where would you like to connect? So I will try to connect to my network. This my network. This is the ID. Copy. Paste it here. So I think the sequence is wrong. Docker connect your network. This is your network and this is your machine. Okay, Nginx 1 is already there. So I will add Nginx 2. And Nginx 2 is this guy. Copy. Paste. So now I don't get any error. And now if I come here and say Docker network inspect, now I will see Nginx 1, Nginx 2. Both the machines or both the containers are in the same network. And this is my network. Okay, both are now running in the same network. Now, what's the benefit of that? So now if I come here and say Docker network ls, and if I go and say Docker ps -a, I can go to any one of them and try to connect to the other. So I will show you that Docker exec -it. So I'm going inside this guy. Copy, paste, bin bash. Okay, I'm inside the container Nginx 2. The name is something ending with 64, something ending with 64. And here I'll say ping. Okay, and I will give this ID NGI NX1. See here. Now it is able to transfer the data. Means it is connected to network and it is able to talk to each other. So you can see 9 packets transmitted, 9 packets received, 0% loss. So the end output of this is that I am able to connect 2 of my networks to the same network in such a way that these 2 networks can talk to each other. Okay, so let me reiterate the entire thing which I have done, and then I will take questions from you. The first thing is, I said that there are 2 containers and both the containers are running on 2 different environments. Okay, let me come here. So let me say this is my EC2 instance. There is a container, let me say C1, and there is a container C2. Both are on different network. Let me say it is on network 1 and this is on network 2. Now, because these are on two different networks, they cannot talk to each other. And if you are running a prod grade work, then many a times there will be interdependency. Let me say I'm running a website like Amazon.com. So Amazon.com will have a front end, will have a middleware, and will have a backend. So all these three things should work together. So whenever you go and say username and password, it should validate that username and password from the background, the database which it has. If not, then what is the use? So we will try to. What is that communication bidirectional? Yes, the communication is bidirectional. I have just now shown you in the figure that the both instances can talk to each other. Okay, so let me say this is my front end and this is my back end. So the moment you put your username and password here, this username and password will go to the back end. It will be checked whether it is correct or not, and then you get a response and you are able to log in. So this is a real-time scenario, means the containers should be able to talk to each other. Then I said that for the containers to talk to each other, it is very important that the containers should be in the same network. If they are not in the same network, then the communication will happen, but it will be very difficult. So I came up with Docker network, and when I came with Docker network, I saw there are majorly 3 to 4 types of network, and I did something like this: Docker network ls. Docker network. Okay, I'm inside the container. Let me just come out from here. Docker network ls. So I can see these are the network types: bridge, host, custom bridge, and null. Null means no network. Host means no virtualization. All the containers are using the same thing. Bridge means the default one. This bridge is the custom one which I have created. And you have MacVLAN, and there was one more MacVLAN, and one more was there. I forgot that name. Wait, let me just check. We don't use them that oftenly, so I don't remember it also. Overlay network. So I told overlay will be mostly used by your Docker Swarm, which will be covering 2 days from now. And then we have our MacVLAN, where we will be dealing with MAC addresses. So we are not going to deal with IP addresses and all. Once that's done, we came here and we told, okay, I want to see what's happening inside this network. What is there inside this network? So let me come here and say Docker network inspect and the network ID. And here I can see these two containers are running, Nginx 1 and Nginx 2. So because both the containers are on the same network, the communication between two of them is smooth. And this is the network range which you are getting. And within this range only, you will get the IP address. But this IP address is for only internal communication, means container to container. The outside world cannot use this IP address. Okay. What is Swarm service? Swarm will come in 2 days from now. So Swarm is a container orchestration tool. So first Docker Compose and the Docker Swarm will come. Okay. Then there's a question here. Is it possible to break the network connection and join another network connection? Yes, at any point of time, if you want that, I don't want to continue with this network. Okay. So let me say that you don't want that your Nginx 2 should stay here. So you can come here and say Docker. Wait, let me clear this. I will come here and say Docker ps-a and Docker network ls. So let me say I don't want that this container should run inside this network. So I'll take it out. Docker network disconnect. Okay, whom do you want to disconnect? So you want to disconnect this guy. And it goes to, from here you want to disconnect. Wait. Docker network. This is what I was trying to copy. So I'm saying Docker network, disconnect this. This is the container. Now, if you go back, Docker network, inspect, and the network ID, you will see that network is gone. As of now, only Nginx 1 is here. So at any point, you can connect, disconnect, both can be taken care of. Can you help me to enable unmute control to all? This question, can you help me to enable unmute control to all? What is this, man? Do you want me to unmute it from here? Mute all. Yeah, man, I have unmuted everyone. Please go ahead.
I have a question. So how many maximum, how many containers we can join in the same network?
There is no limitation on that. If your network is supporting that much, then you can. So I have seen 100, 200 can be easily done. Anything more than that, then I've not seen it, but there's no limit on that.
Okay, so the IP address which was giving is by default by the Docker, or like we can change the IP address like 172.19 or something like that.
Change, but for that you need to own that batteries also. For that you need to own that IP address. So basically you have to buy that IP range and you have to put everything on private things. So this CE or the community edition will not allow all these things. You have to go for the licensed one, enterprise edition, and there you can do all these things.
Okay, so will the same in the real time as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, my battery is almost dead. I'll take the class till this point only. We meet tomorrow again and we start with something called Docker Compose. Any questions? If you have, you can go ahead.
Because this container is supporting only one IP or more than IPs? Like you created my network, right? So like that, if I create the two network, like my network 1 and 2,
you can.
So the Docker can attach more than one,
yes.
right?
Yes. So cross network connection is allowed. So see, but at the end of the day, you are complicating your infrastructure. But yes, it is allowed.
Because from different regions, it is possible with different containers.
That's what I'm saying. Everything is possible. Okay, Docker can be customized to any extent you want. So let me say there are a few instances which is running in London, and there are a few instances which is running in Azure, and it is in US. Yes, you can connect them together, but IP tunneling has to be done. So there is a lot of networking which will come, and unnecessarily you are complicating all these things. It will be better if you start using Docker Compose. It will be much better if you just start using Kubernetes. So on Docker, you can do everything, but the problem is the complexity. More importantly, the Docker containers are ephemeral in nature. The moment the Docker container dies, all the setting which you have done is also gone. So that's a challenge. That's why we do not do all these things at Docker level. At Kubernetes level, definitely we do all those things.
Sir, Anji here. I have a question about not about the network. I have something else. Like right now, as of now, we are using EC2, right? And what about this EBS, EFS, VPC, S3, IAP, PCR, all those?
That is a concept which is from AWS. Now, AWS gives you 100 other services, but not every service is for everything.
Okay.
So here, when I talk about Docker,
these points will be covered under AWS course, or
this is all Docker. There is no.
No. I'm talking about EBS, EFS, VPC.
That is AWS content. That will be. AWS.
That will be you will be covering, right?
AWS, yes, correct.
Okay.
Okay, fine, guys. I'll drop now. My battery is almost dead. It will be gone in some time. So see you tomorrow then.
Okay. Co-host, please share the recordings. Thanks.
Thanks for the presentation.